The night his tire blew out on the side of the highway, rain stitching silver needles into the dark, he didn't yet know that a small act of kindness would rearrange the rest of his life. He only knew the sound of rubber tearing itself apart, the steering wheel fighting his tired hands, and the quiet panic that rose when the car finally shuddered to a stop beneath a flickering streetlight. In the back seat, a child's jacket lay folded, still warm from the day, smelling faintly of crayons and soap, a reminder of why he kept going even when the road felt endless and lonely. Before the story truly unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet strength, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Lonely Dad Strong Heart. Your support keeps stories like this alive. He was a single father named Daniel, the kind of man whose shoulders always seemed to carry more than one lifetime's worth of responsibility. Since his wife had passed 2 winters earlier, his days had become a careful balancing act of school runs, late-night laundry, and a job that paid just enough to keep the lights on if he never missed a shift. Love had not disappeared from his life, but it had changed shape, becoming quieter and heavier, focused entirely on his 8-year-old son, Noah. Daniel learned to cook dinners that felt like hugs and to sit through homework with patience he didn't know he had. Yet the nights were the hardest, when the house echoed and the future felt like a long stretch of unlit road. That evening, he had stayed late at work to cover for a coworker who needed time off. He didn't do it for praise, he did it because he understood how fragile life could be. Driving home, exhaustion pressed on him, and the storm came without warning. The tire gave out miles from anywhere familiar, and as he stepped out into the rain, water soaking his shoes, he felt the familiar sting of being alone with a problem he could barely afford. His phone battery hovered near empty, and the spare tire was old, its tread worn thin like his hope. As he wrestled with the jack, his hands shaking from cold and fatigue, headlights slowed behind him. A car pulled over, hazard lights blinking through the rain. Daniel's first instinct was caution, the world had taught him to be careful. But the woman who stepped out moved with a gentleness that felt disarming, holding an umbrella that trembled in the wind. She didn't ask questions or make promises. She simply came closer, offering help with a calm presence that cut through the storm. Together, without words, they worked, rain plastering hair to foreheads, the metallic smell of wet asphalt surrounding them. It took longer than it should have, but eventually the spare was on, and the night felt a little less heavy. When the rain softened, she nodded and returned to her car, leaving behind nothing but the warmth of having not been alone. Daniel watched her taillights disappear, feeling something unfamiliar stir inside him, not romance, not yet, but a reminder that kindness could still arrive unexpectedly. He drove home carefully, every mile an echo of gratitude, and tucked Noah into bed with a kiss that lingered longer than usual. Life returned to its rhythm, but something had shifted. Daniel found himself paying kindness forward in small ways, letting someone merge in traffic, holding doors, offering smiles that felt rusty but sincere. Weeks later, on another long drive, he spotted a stalled car on the shoulder, a familiar scene replaying itself. Without hesitation, he pulled over. The driver turned out to be the same woman from the storm, her car overheating under the harsh afternoon sun. Recognition flickered across both their faces, and this time, there was laughter, light and surprised, cutting through the heat like shade. They worked together again, slower this time, sharing silent understanding and easy glances. When the engine cooled, Daniel offered a bottle of water from his trunk, and she accepted with a grateful nod. Before parting, they exchanged names and a simple promise to stay safe on the road. It wasn't a grand gesture, just 2 people acknowledging a thread that seemed to connect them. Days turned into messages, brief at first, about traffic, weather, and the strange way fate sometimes repeated itself. Daniel learned her name was Emily, that she worked as a physical therapist, that she believed deeply in helping people heal even when healing was slow. He told her about Noah, about being a father and a mother all at once, about the nights that felt heavier than the days. She listened, not with pity, but with respect, and that made all the difference. The idea of a date crept in quietly, almost shy. Daniel resisted it at first, guilt rising like a tide. He worried about opening a door he had sealed shut to protect his heart and his son. He worried about failing again. But Emily's patience was steady, never pushing, simply present. When he finally agreed, it wasn't to impress or escape, but to honor the part of himself that still believed in tomorrow. The date he never expected wasn't flashy. It was a walk through a small park near the river, autumn leaves crunching underfoot, the air smelling of change. Daniel arrived early, hands trembling slightly, heart pounding like he was standing on the edge of something vast. Emily appeared with a soft smile, and the world seemed to exhale. They talked about ordinary things that felt extraordinary in their honesty. He spoke about Noah's laugh, about the fear of loving again, about the loneliness that didn't always show. She shared her own scars, her own losses, and the ways she had learned to keep moving. As the sun dipped low, Daniel realized he was smiling without forcing it. He felt seen not as a project to fix, but as a man doing his best. The road that had once felt cruel now seemed to have guided him gently, step by step, to this moment. Kindness, he understood, was not just an action, it was a direction. Weeks later, Emily met Noah. It wasn't perfect or seamless, but it was real. Noah was cautious, protective of his father, yet curious. Emily didn't try to win him over, she met him where he was, patient and sincere. Slowly, walls softened. Daniel watched his son laugh with someone new and felt tears blur his vision, not from fear, but from hope. Life didn't suddenly become easy. There were still bills, still long days, still moments when grief whispered unexpectedly. But there was also warmth, shared meals, and the comfort of knowing that when the road broke beneath him, someone might pull over, umbrella shaking in the rain, ready to help. Near the end of this story, if it touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Lonely Dad's Strong Heart. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need them most. And before the final moments, I have a special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what kindness means to you, or share a moment when a stranger changed your life. The night Daniel realized he was no longer afraid came quietly. He stood by his window, watching rain fall softly, Noah asleep in the next room, Emily's message glowing on his phone. The road ahead was still uncertain, but it was no longer empty. He understood now that love didn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it came with a flat tire, a storm, and a simple choice to stop and help.